Hey everybody, Mr. C here, picking up where we left off in our last video. We're going to talk about, now that you have a finished layout, how we can communicate to our client what this layout means. A lot of times, if a client hasn't been through the web design process, they're going to be confused as to why you're giving them this black and white version of something, and it's using icons and no images and very very funky text here with the lorem ipsum stuff. The low res mock-up is kind of a jarring thing for the client. And understand, they know their story, they know what they want to say, what they want to tell the public about their business, about their product, about their service. But the method that we communicate that story, the messaging method is up to us, and that is in our control. That's our job, is to make sure that we are using a method that their customers are going to understand. And just because your client doesn't understand it doesn't mean their customers may not. Just keep that in mind. So we might have to help them along a little bit to better understand the reasoning behind why we are communicating their message the way that we are. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that we give our client a good explanation of what a what a low-res wireframe is, which is what this is here, low-res mockup. That it's basically just a visual representation of content areas so we can get a sense of the flow of information and how these things connect to each other on the page. Nothing more than that. We're not making any major design decisions. We're not working with colors. This is all about spatial representation and breathing, basically. So let's take a deep breath and talk about now describing these individual sections to our client. Now, ideally, you want to be in a meeting with your client to be able to point to them and explain what each piece is for, why it's there, what we're going to be doing with it, but we don't always have that option. And so we have to use what are called callouts on the page here that point to the areas and give a brief description of what each one is. So in our stencils here, you can search for the callout. This is also called a tooltip as well. And then you just drag it and point to the section that you want to describe. Now, unfortunately, putting a bunch of callouts on our page here is going to distract from the visual look of it. So we want our callouts to actually be outside of our content area here. The bummer with that, the thing about that is, as soon as you start moving your content or your callout towards the edge of the page, you lose it. So what we have to do is we have to increase the size of our art area here. Okay, so usually you should just be able to hover right over the edge of this thing and grab and drag, but as this is doing to me right now, it is not letting me drag. Isn't that fun? Let's see if I can grab a corner here. There we go. All right, put this back in place. Okay. You're generally, I don't think you can grab the left or the top. You can only grab the right or the bottom. So what we're going to do is I'm going to drag this out big time here, make lots of room. And then we're going to drag select all of our content here and move this box into the center of everything. Cool. Now I can grab this tooltip here and I can put it where I want. Now this one right here, I'm going to point this guy to this header area. And I'm going to put the text in here. Page title. And if you want, you can make this smaller. You can do things like that. You can adjust what these boxes look like by grabbing these little circles. Go. Cool. Okay, page title. And I can make a copy of this if I hold down the Alt key and click and drag. We can say this is a company logo. And let's click and drag, Alt click and drag over here. I'm going to put the pointer right here. And we'll just call this the navigation bar, etc., etc., etc. So we want to work our way through the page here, trying to keep these boxes as far away as possible. Now, obviously, some of these things are going to be difficult to keep the pointer out of the vision. Out of the visual space that we're trying to communicate in. So you got to do your best. Basically, if there's no way around it, then it has to be that way. Now we can draw lines, but again, this thing kind of stands out on its own here. And in fact, we could even do, if we wanted to, we could even change the fill color of these to be something that makes it stand out. So in design, usually the color magenta represents something that's not actually going to be used, something that's not going to print. And the reason that's important is that sometimes clients will see these call-out boxes and they'll say, oh wow, you know, this design looks really great, but could we remove all these little bubbles? It happens. They're just oops, that didn't save for some reason. I'm gonna go back. Thank you. I thought you liked me, computer. There we go. Okay. So for something like this, we don't need to describe each individual icon. We could literally just do something like this and say process icons. And the reason we need to say process icons and not just icons is we have to identify what this is about here. We're communicating something about the process, so we're going to tell them process icons. And then this whole box can be the process if we want, and then we can have process steps, and then the titles for those. You don't have to get super granular, like we don't have to call out each of the social media icons with their own individual callouts. We could just point to this area and say social media icons, or social media links would work as well. Okay, that's all I got for now. So before you submit these guys, make sure you have Mr. Salinas check it out. And then once he's signed off on your layout, then go to and increase the size of your page, your artboard here, like the way I showed you. Just hover over the right or the bottom, and then pull that out, and then move your design into the center by drag selecting everything and then clicking and dragging it, and then start adding these callouts. These are from the stencils. And that's what we got. So happy Friday, everyone. Did I stop it? I did not. Oh, okay, good. Well, make sure you do this part here before turning it in, okay? Thank you. Now I'm clicking it. Bye.